Equa in Butterworth and in Queenstown, Paikomani in the Eastern Cape, will they be reopened for job creation at all? The factories in Butterworth and in Queenstown, will they be reopened for job creation at all? Peter?
Mr. President.
Thank you, Vuyo. Certainly, we are talking about reviving our economy. We are talking also about rural development. Rural development is about reviving, among other things, small towns and those factories that were closed over a period. Certainly, I'm sure those factories will have to be reopened because we must create jobs. And therefore, there is no doubt that in our plans, we are looking at those small towns. It's part of our plan to revive them, to make them vibrant, and I'm sure Equa, the factories will be reopened.
Okay, you've heard it there. Leanne?
Right, Peter, thank you very much. I've got so many questions, I don't know where to begin. I've got papers and messages and tweets. So, Mr. President, I'll ask you two tweets because we've got a desperate public out there that just also want their views heard, and we'll get around to some more questions from the floor now. This one comes from a gentleman named Sean Branfield, and he wants to know what is going to be done to stop farm murders. It's a huge issue, and he's hoping he can find an answer for that one. And then I'm going to ask you another one on top of that. This one pertains more to your social media quest of asking people to get hold of you on Twitter and Facebook. Those messages that you have received, will you be passing them on to the respective ministers and departments to try and see to some of the needs of South Africans? That's just another question from some viewers out there.
Thank you indeed for the questions. I think the question of the matters of the farmers is a question that we've been dealing with all the time. It's a question that has made the Department of Police to have many meetings with the farming community to work together. And I think we have done quite a lot to address that question in terms of what it is, in terms of it being a crime. Just like the crime in the country. I think, in fact, as we said, the crime has in a sense gone down. I think even the farming, the matters in the farm are not escalating. They are being addressed. It's part of what we do, and we have had discussions. The Minister of Police in particular has even had time to meet, to discuss and say what can we do. So it is part of our task to deal with the farm matters that they should reduce. With regard to the issue of the questions that come, there are so many from Facebook, Twitter, etc., including some that even here people could ask and we may not have time to answer. It has been our commitment that those questions should reach us so that those questions would be referred to different departments that are relevant to. So certainly that will be done. The people who are out there must know, even if we did not answer the questions now, but they will be considered.
Okay, so they're not being ignored.
They're not being ignored at all.
Okay.
All right, Peter, I've got a very nice question here. Dion Bosso from Table 7. Dion, there you are. It's simple, but I think it's to the point.
Morning, Mr. President.
Morning.
Mr. President, just a quick one. It's a nice positive message that came through this morning. But what is the one thing that keeps you awake at night, that concerns you?
It's definitely the plight of the poor people in this country. Every night, I think, what can we do quicker, faster to alleviate their plight? That is what keeps me awake.
Mr. President, we've just finished the mining Indaba here in Cape Town yesterday. And you're the Chief Executive Officer of the ANC, the Chief Executive Officer of Government South Africa. And we keep coming back to the same conversations for some reason. And I guess Being the CEO of both organizations, you can put an end to the speculation here and now. Nationalization of mines, what is the final word?
You call me CEO because you want to put that question, eh? Well, I really don't know why people have difficulties on this question. We've answered these questions many times.
But we're getting mixed.
There are no mixed things. Very clear. Our policy is clear. Nationalization is not our policy. It's as clear as that. It's not our policy. What has happened? The ANC Youth League has raised the issue. And once it raised the issue, we said, let them put the issue on the processes of the ANC so that it will be discussed. Because anything that you say, whether you're a structure or a member of the ANC, has to be subjected to a process which ends up in the national policy of the ANC. And we always pride ourselves that we are the only organization that has a national policy conference. It is only that decision of that conference which should be a recommendation to a national conference. That's then we can take a decision and say this is policy. I don't know why people don't know, because we don't do these things in secret. They are very open. Why should they always, when one person says we want nationalization, is now policy, there are mixed signals? Not at all. We have, for an example, on the basis of that issue being raised, set up a structure to investigate, look at this in preparations for the discussion in the national conference. We are very clear. It's not our policy. We have been saying this inside the country, outside the country. It cannot be. It doesn't mean that one person has a view, then it is policy. But also, ANC people have internal democracy. They are not suppressed. They raise their issues. But once the issues are raised, they are then put into the process. We have clear processes. So please, nationalization is not the ANC or government policy.
Okay. Mr. President. Thank you very much for clearing that up, because I think it is an issue that's of concern to many people, investors who might have been sitting on the fence. Clearly, they don't need to. They can jump right in.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Our policy is mixed economy.
Okay.
That's our policy.
Mr. President, thank you very much indeed. We're going to continue with our conversation with the President after this.